Hey guys, it's Will with Vinyl Appreciation Society. Welcome to part 3 of my top albums of the decade, 2010 to the end of 2019. This is my best of the best. I think this is a top 12. I have multiple versions of this list, and the counting got kind of screwed up because I was moving stuff around on the list, and then I ended up migrating some stuff to another list. It's been kind of a hot mess. So I think it's 12. It might be 13 things on here. Let's dive into it. So at number 12, I have a genre, not a band or artist. The genre is synthwave. So I got really into synthwave in like 2015, I think, right? Is that when we did the Film Independent Lab? It was 2015, right? 2015, 2016. Yeah, and so Mike, who does all the technical aspects of our videos and is also in a lot of the movie reviews that we do, he and I are neighbors, and we did this Film Independent Lab together, so we would carpool there, and he listens to a lot of synthwave. And so we listened to a lot of like Perturbator in the car, and this whole stack is Perturbator records. And I got really into Perturbator, and then he suggested that I listen to Ghost, because he thought they would appeal to me, and I listened to Ghost, and I absolutely love Ghost too, so I have some Ghost records over there. And so this decade, like the big new genre that I've gotten into and really fallen in love with has been synthwave. So that's number 12 on my records of the decade list. So here I have I Am the Night, which I think this is probably my favorite Perturbator record. It's hard to pick because he has like a very specific sound that if you were unfamiliar with or you're not a fan of the music, you'd probably say all sounds the same. But each of his albums actually has a unique vibe to it. And I Am the Night is this kind of like dark dystopian thing. As Mike always says, Dangerous Days is like the Terminator record. And as you like, the song titles are like Future Club, right, which makes you think of like the club in Terminator, and War Against the Machines. What else is on here? She is young, she is beautiful, she is next. Obviously, it could be interpreted as a reference to Sarah Connor. I mean, the artwork here is very, like, cyberpunky, and I know that Perturbator has narratives with his album that are obviously completely disassociated from Terminator, but, like, you know, the music on here and the flow of the album and the song title is very evocative of the 1984 Terminator. So, this and I Am the Night are both just like standard black vinyl. They're not worth like busting out for you. This is the Uncanny Valley. So this is the first Perturbator record I got on vinyl, if I remember correctly. I may have gotten this in Dangerous Days at the same time. I kind of like ordered them together from Blood Music, which is the record label. This is kind of cool. This is super black and white thing on here. But so this is a purple. This was released in two variants, I think, first press. So a purple one and a pink one. And this is the kind of the more purple. It does look pretty pink, though, doesn't it? Maybe I got the pink one. I can't remember what I own. What is happening to me? But, yeah, this is a really great record. And this record, like, bangs a little bit harder, I think, than his, than Dangerous Days and I Am the Night. Like, those are very ambient, like, cyberpunky, like, rain-drenched, creeping death kind of records. And this one is a more, like, in-your-face, the robot gods are here to destroy your reality type of thing. And then finally, and actually two of these records, I Am the Night and this one, Mike bought for me. So this is the most recent Perturbator release as we're filming this. I know that he is in the process of recording another album, and he has released a single from that record, but I don't know anything about like the release date or anything. We saw Perturbator, I think like this past April. Was that in April? Do you remember, Mike, when we saw Perturbator? I think it was in the spring at some point. And he was awesome live. Heavily recommended. Go and check him out. And so there you go. That's his most recent record. And this is a little bit different, this record. It's still like a synthwave sound, but it goes into like very different territory. And then I have his two B-sides. These are B-sides and remixes compilations. So Volume 1 and then Volume 2. And these are both really awesome records. And they have slightly different vibes. And they're very much compilations. Like, it's like a bunch of songs, and the mood will change from track to track. I'm going to take this out because this is a really cool variant, but these are all the same. So these are both double LPs, and each record is kind of like the same. It's the clear with the red and black splatter. So I'm not going to take out every single side of vinyl on here, but just to give you some indication of what that looks like. But there's some really, really cool stuff on these compilations. So that is Perturbator. If you're unfamiliar, I think his name is James Kent. Does that sound right? And he's from... He grew up in, his dad is a British music journalist, but he grew up in Paris. I think his mom might be French, or maybe his parents are both British and they moved to France. But so he's like British-French, and he lives in Paris, and he tours the world making this. He's basically living the life that I wish that I lived, because I'm half English too. Why didn't my parents move to Paris, and why don't I make awesome freaking music instead of being just fat load who does YouTube videos? Next we have Ghost. This is Ghost's first record, full length. I think this is his first full length record. He may have put out like one kind of underground record before this, and this was his first record on like a bigger underground label, Blood Music, same as Perturbator. But this is called Behemoth, and this is like a really awesome, just like pulsing in your face like synth record with like some dance kind of influence because it's like really driving beats. That's just a standard black variant, as is this next one. This is my favorite Ghost record. This is called Non Paradisi. So this is like, I think, this Ghost goes like way deep into the satanic stuff, and I think this is based on Paradise Lost, this record, or at least in part informed by Paradise Lost, because it has a whole narrative about this like fallen figure descending to Earth, and this is like a Gustave Doré print that has been like colorized in this kind of synthwave aesthetic with the character that Ghost was playing at the time dropped into it. And I think that's also the case with this here. It looks a lot like Doré, so I would assume that's what it is. And I just love this record. Like it combines like the heavy pulse pounding kind of synth stuff of his first record with some more atmospheric and melodic stuff. Atmospheric and melodic stuff. And his record after that is Possessor, which I also have here, and this is a really beautiful piece of wax. This has like black metal on it and noise on it, but then also really melodic synth stuff. So this record is like all over the place, and his most recent record is like a straight up combination, I think, of like synth and black metal. And I actually haven't heard that record. It just came out maybe like a month ago. And as I said in previous videos in this series, I am just broke as all get out right now because I just had another kid, and as you may or may not know, having 2 kids in a city like LA is ridiculously expensive. So I'm not buying a ton of records right now. But hey, if you want to send us stuff, I would just love you forever if you sent us a copy of the most recent Ghost record or anything else that you think that we might like. Just hit us up, let us know. We will make videos on anything because we love making videos. Send us records, send us CDs, whatever you want to send us. We'll do unboxings, we'll do reviews, we'll talk about them. What else will we do with them, Mike? We'll play them. That's a good one. Yep. I'm really struggling here to get this back in the thing, so I am just going to give up. Oh, wait, got it. Oh, yeah. It's like becoming enlightened, right, as a Buddhist. It can't happen when you're trying to do it. You have to give up, and then it will occur. What else do we have here? Frightened Rabbit. So there's a tragic history to Frightened Rabbit in this decade, and I think that it would be cheap and crass for me to go into that in a video of this nature, so I'm just going to talk about the music. I love this band to death over this past decade. I actually didn't hear Frightened Rabbit until, so they put out Midnight Organ Fight in either 2008 or 2009. I don't remember exactly when. And I heard like half a song off of it when it came out, and I didn't think much of it. I kind of heard it in passing. And then a year or two later, I heard that song again, and I was like, this song is incredible. I need to listen to this band. So this decade, I listened to a butt ton of Frightened Rabbit, and I absolutely loved this band. I saw them in like 2013 on the Pedestrian Verse Tour, which is this record that I have right here. This is a CD, obviously. But this album is just really, really, really phenomenal. And, Midnight Organ Fight is like the classic Frightened Rabbit record that everyone cites as their like magnum opus, but I think that this record is just as good. And I go back and forth between which one I like more. I also have Midnight Organ Fight on vinyl, but it didn't come out this decade, so I didn't bring it in. And I have the EP that they put out maybe like 3 years ago, and I also have the live and record store performance on vinyl. But I was like, I don't need to bring everything in here and kind of go crazy with it. But so Pedestrian Verse is definitely a top record of this decade for me. I've listened to that album so many times. And then I have here Painting of a Panic Attack. This is an album that I really enjoyed when it came out, but I wasn't like blown away by it or super attached to it or drawn to it over and over again. And then the singer, vocalist, primary songwriter of Frightened Rabbit passed away, and I went back to that record. For some reason, that was the one that I was really drawn to. And since that happened, so I said I wasn't going to get into it. So he committed suicide, and the reason I'm saying that is because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to reinforce stigmas around mental health by saying he passed away instead of he committed suicide. But that's obviously something that's very, very tragic and very personal for his band and for his family and for his diehard fans who are kind of like extended members of the Frightened Rabbit family. And it feels exploitative to me to really harp on about that in a YouTube video where I'm just talking about music. So really great band, a really fantastic songwriter, and I love that album. And I've been listening to it a ton recently. So to get into another, so this is one of my favorite new discoveries of this decade. The band is Mourn. If you follow us on Instagram or you watch us on YouTube, I talk about this band a lot. I just love this band, and I don't know what it is about this band. They write great songs. They're super high energy. They're really fun. They're really interesting and unique band, especially in these times. They just write like short, punchy songs, and every member of this band pulls their weight to an extreme degree. Like of all the bands that I've gotten into this decade who play kind of like rock music, I think this band more than any other is like their bass player is absolutely incredible. She plays super melodic, super intricate bass lines, and the way that she plays off the two guitar players and the way that they play off of each other is ridiculous. And like so when their second record came out, which is called Ha Ha Hee Hee or Ha Ha Hee, I think, yeah, Ha Ha Hee. When that record came out, I read a review that said that was kind of just like dismissing the record and being like, well, it's high energy and like the songwriting is interesting, but it's not mind blowing and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listening to that for me, this is only their second record and they're a very young band. Like I think they were around 20 when they recorded this record, 19 or 20. And for them to be that tight and to play that intricate music and to write music that's intricate at that age, at that youngest age in their band's history, to me, it's just ridiculous, having played in bands and kind of knowing what that's like and having friends in bands and following the careers of a lot of bands, for like some music critic to just dismiss that because it's like, it doesn't appeal to my subjective taste of what I think is catchy and cool. It's just like, that's what irks me so much about music criticism. But so they put out 3 full-length records this decade. Here's the self-titled one. This is a clear variant. We have done a studio episode on this, so I'm not going to waste your time busting that out because we've already done that, but you can go and find that pretty easily on our channel. This is the black. I'll take this out because we've done a video on this, but it was in a video with like 20 other records. So it didn't get a lot of its own kind of like. So here you go. This is really cool, right? It's got these 2 plastic plates, and you can make like overlays of the artwork. And then it also is I think this is black and white, right? Or white, black with white splatter vinyl. Yeah. I love this album. This is their second record, and so their first record is very like straight ahead and punky, and then this record they kind of brought in this kind of post-punk influence and really expanded their I think their base of influences, and in doing that I think they also, I just put the record in like the main sleeve instead of the inner sleeve, and then they also started doing like much more intricate music, as I said when I was talking about music criticism and stuff like that. And then their most recent record, full length, they're actually, as we're recording this, they're recording a new album. So November of 2019, Mourn is in the process of recording a new album that will hopefully be out in 2020. They have a new drummer now, and they've been posting like studio updates on Instagram. I'm super excited for that record. They put out an EP of covers, I think, this year too, which was pretty cool. Or maybe it's like unreleased songs / covers. I don't remember exactly what the deal is, but that's Ha Ha He. That's their second record. And their third record is called Sorpresa Familia. This is an awesome freaking album. So this is like a very bombastic, like ready to go, like indie punk record that also has those kind of like post-punk intricacies that you have on the other album. But it's a very, like the way it's recorded and produced, it's a very upfront record. It's like, hey, here I am. I'm loud. I'm roaring. I'm young. I'm melodic. I'm ready to kick your ass into next week. And this is just an awesome record. And let me just put this all back together here. Something fun about this record is that this is the track listing on the back of the album is not the same as the track listing on the vinyl. And one of them, I think it's the track listing on the back of the album, not the track listing on the vinyl, is the same as how it's listed on the download version. So it's like it was supposed to be one way and it ended up getting pressed another way for some reason. So what do we have next? We have another really awesome discovery, one of my favorite discoveries of this decade. This is a group from Scotland. They're called Young Fathers. This band also put on the best live show that I saw this decade. I saw them at this tiny club in LA called the Moroccan Lounge, which is actually, Mike and I saw Ghost there too with Dance of the Dead. That was a really fun show. Is that what that band is called? The other Dance of the Dead? Yeah. And so they were opening for LCD Sound System and the Ya-Ya-Ya's at the Hollywood Bowl, and they played a one-off show at this. I mean, that place is like small. Like I'm talking like 100 people. It's like a bar basically, maybe 50 people. and they were just freaking incredible. So what is Young Fathers? This is their first record, and there's like 4 songs. This is probably just glaring you to death because it's like a super glossy album cover. But there are 4 songs on this record that are in Trainspotting 2. So if you saw that movie, you'll definitely be familiar with the sound of this band. And they're 3 guys from Edinburgh, Scotland, who they from what I understand, their story is that they would go to like clubs together and do like dance music, rave music, and stuff like that. And they wanted to start a band, and they just started making music without thinking anything about what the genre would be or who would even be the fan base. And so it's like pop, R&B, hip hop, and like club, like dance music, all happening at the same time. It's totally nuts. And it's really, really fantastic. And they'll have songs that are just like 2 minutes long. They're just like this chanting and these beats. But then they'll have like proper pop songs. And they obviously have no regard for like, let's write an album of pop songs and be really famous. They're just like into following what is interesting to them and what they enjoy creating. And they have a secret weapon, which is this giant freaking like analog synthesizer that they have on the stage with them with these patches, and it just makes this like cacophonous buzzing. It's really, I mean, that's because it's so loud, but it also creates these really awesome organic synthesizer tones, like the kind of stuff you hear on like Kid A, and like those Radiohead records. White Men Are Black Men Too. This is their second record, and this has some really great songs on it, like Shame. And there's another song on here that I really, really love. That I'm 27, I think. But this is a really solid, really strong record. And then Cacao Sugar is their most recent album, and this album is just I love this album. This came out I think last year, and I listen to this so often. There's so many good songs on here. In My View, Toy. Holy Ghost is one of my favorite Young Fathers tracks that's on here, and this is actually a pretty cool variant, so let me just show this off to you really quickly. And then they had a song called, I think Lord is on this record too. Lord is like a really good song, and I think maybe one of their singles. Only God Knows, which is a song that they wrote specifically for Trainspotting 2, I think. And that was like a single, just like a one-off single that came out. I might be wrong about that. It might have been written for charity. Well, maybe it was for a movie. Maybe it was for charity. Who knows? But it's a really strong song. So we have done a video on this record before. This is Kid Cudi. This is Mr. Rager. Man on the Moon 2. Mr. Rager. Absolutely one of my favorite records of the decade. I think I've completely forgot about the order of this list, like in terms of the numbering. But I think we're in the top. We're in the top half now. So this is number fucking A. I don't even know. But yeah, I think we're in the top half now. This is definitely one of my favorite records of this decade, obviously that being the theme of this video. But as I said in the studio episode that we did of this, like this album really is like, it creates this like hermetic seal around your life so that when you listen to this record, nothing else exists but this record. You can't tear away from it. It's so hypnotic. And it's almost like, to me, it's like listening to like a Radiohead album, like Amnesiac or Kid A. It just completely envelops you. It's unlike anything you've ever heard. You can't turn away from it, and it's got these incredible lyrics that are like examining the kind of the duality of, he suffers from depression, I think, and he has night terrors, and he has like these visions of his dead father, and he talks a lot about that on the record, and he talks about hedonism and doing drugs and psychedelics and things like that as a way of escaping, but also as a way of playing directly into the creativity. And like doing psychedelic drugs, having these visions, and how that plays into his night terrors and all. It's like this, rather than saying drugs are bad or drugs are good, or hedonism is bad, hedonism is good, mental health torments me, mental health helps me with my creativity. He says all of these things are true, and it's all happening at once, and it's complete chaos, and this is my mind. And it's one of the absolute best records I ever heard in terms of encapsulating someone's state of mind, who they are and where they're coming from, and I can't recommend that record highly enough. It is called Man on the Moon Part 2, Mr. Rager. I'm just making sure I'm not getting out of whack here. So what do we have next? We have one of my all-time favorite bands, and a lot. The next couple are going to be like all-time favorite bands of mine. Mogwai. I freaking love Mogwai. I've seen Mogwai like 5 times. They're a Scottish post-rock band. Hardcore Will Never Die, But You Will was released in 2011. Front to back, this is my favorite Mogwai record. There are other Mogwai records that I think have stronger individual songs, that have stronger sections, but in terms of like an entire record all the way through, I gotta go with this. This also has a 23-minute extra song that was, I think, created by as part of an art installation. But it's just such a phenomenal record. And then I have Special Moves, which is a Mogwai live album, and I actually bought this in Edinburgh, Scotland when I was there in like 2014, I think. And so this is special to me because they recorded this over the course of 3 shows, and I was at one of those shows. And I think I actually saw myself in the DVD that's on here. But so this is live in Brooklyn, New York in 2009, and Mogwai live is just a transcendent experience. It's hard to describe. You just have to experience it. It's just out of this world, and that's a great live record. So, what do we have next? We have Idlewild. So we did a video that'll be out soon, I think, of my 7 super underrated Idlewild songs as selected by yours truly. So you know I'm a huge fan of Idlewild. They're one of my probably top 5 favorite bands of all time. Here we have Everything Ever Written. This was their comeback album. They were dormant for like 5 years or so, and then they announced this record and put it out not long thereafter. And this is like, it combines their like folkier side with kind of some of their more experimental. There's like the first track has this like really heavy riff on it, and then it has this rhythm that reminds me of Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin, but it's like this kind of folky, melodic indie rock song. So this is a very like melodic indie rock record, and it's signed, which is why I busted it out, because it is just standard black vinyl, but it's a signed. There's all this crap on my records, probably because I have a kid, and he just like gets his hands dirty and then plays with my records. I can't even tell what this is. Is it like 5-year-old melted chocolate or something like that? But so, Idlewild, I love this band, and I saw them on this tour, and that was a really great experience. But I'm a huge fan of Roddy Woomble, who is the vocalist and lyricist of it, and he put out an album called The Deluder this decade that I also really liked. That actually some Idlewild fans do not like at all. Like, they reacted to it very violently, because it sounds like Leonard Cohen a little bit, and like other kind of like darker stuff like that you don't really associate with Idlewild, and people didn't know what to make of it, and they didn't like it, and blah, 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 but I think it's a really strong album. But there's a song on here called Like a Clown that has phenomenal lyrics. So Many Things to Decide has phenomenal lyrics. God, what else is so good on here? Radium Girl is a great song. Utopia is the last song in the album. I love that song. On Another Planet is a really awesome, like, fast, melodic rock song. So I really love this record. I listened to it a ton when it came out. And then we have what is probably my favorite Idlewild record since Make Another World, which came out in 2008, 2007. This is, and I forget the name of it, Interview Music. This is just a great record. And so this is just like really strong songwriting that combines like a lot of their kind of like REM, Teenage Fan Club, Built to Spill type influences. There's like this kind of sense of texture and experimentation on this record that's really interesting. There's one song that breaks down into like this really buoyant chorus with like these huge horns, like this big hook played on horns. And there's another song that goes into this kind of like driving, almost like post-punk passage that turns into this almost like noise freak-out breakdown that goes back into like a really melodic chorus. The lyrics are fantastic on this record. It's very melodic. It's just like, and it's like this record, more than Everything Ever Written, was really hailed by the press in Scotland and kind of like the UK in general as being like a great return to form for this record and a really strong indie rock record. And they found like a new voice and are really firing on all cylinders. So I love this record. Idlewild, Interview Music. So I think we are now in the top 5. I'm counting the records that I have over here. Yeah, so I think we're in top 5 territory now. So that would have been number 6, that Idlewild record of my top dozen records / genres / things that I listen to, artists of the past decade. And so what do we have next? Well, I'm trying to I have this huge pile of records here, and it's capsizing the chair that I was putting it on because the pile is so big that it's heavy enough that it's moving the chair. I dropped my list too, so I'm going to have to move, and then I'm going to get out of focus, and then everyone's going to be enraged with me. But here we go. We're doing it. We're coming back. We're in frame. What do you think? How do I look? Can you see? Let me look at my list. So as you can see, I have like 100 lists on this piece of paper because I've just been writing tons and tons and tons of lists. So I have to find where we are. Here we go. Because I want to get the order right here because I very carefully arranged the order of this. All right, so we have the Smashing Pumpkins. Smashing Pumpkins are my favorite band. It should come as no surprise to you that they're on this list. When I was putting this list together, I wasn't going to put the Pumpkins on it because I was like, well, what did they put out? They put out Shining Oh So Bright. I don't know. Oh, wait, they also put out Monuments to an Elegy. That's right. Oh, they put out Oceania. Yep. Oh, they had those 2 Tear Garden EPs. Oh, yeah, Billy Corgan put out 2 solo albums. Like, what the fuck? Like, they've released so much stuff, and yet somehow there's this feeling that they haven't been that active this decade, but they've been, like, nonstop active. Like, I've seen the Pumpkins, I think, 3 times this decade, and I've seen a Billy Corgan solo show. This is Shiny No So Bright, Volume 1, No Past, No Future, No Sun. I wasn't sure what I made of this record when it first came out, and I didn't want to like go crazy listening to it, trying to review it, trying to understand it. But a year later, I love this album. Silvery Sometimes is, I think, probably the best Pumpkin song that Billy Corgan has written since they initially broke up. I mean, it's just so damn good. Marching On is super fun. Seek and You Shall Destroy is super fun. Knights of Malta is a really fun song. Solara is just like, sounds like something on Zeitgeist, like it's just a musical beatdown. I think this is a really strong album. It's a really fun album. But, so, I'm going to call this Smashing Pumpkins / Billy Corgan / William Patrick Corgan solo stuff. OG Lala, I really liked. I should also say that Monuments to an Elegy is a really good, really underrated album. And the only song that I don't really get into too much on there is Being Beige, and it depends on when I'm listening to it. There are times when I listen to it where I'm like, this song is really good, and there are times where I'm listening to it and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I can take it or leave it. But, like... But I think that album was what I really wanted everything else they had been putting out in that era to be, and it didn't quite happen. And I heard that album, and I was like, yes, this is what I want. Like, this is freaking Billy Corgan writing awesome songs, heavy riffs, good quiet songs. And I know, like, it's weird because, like, Jimmy Chamberlain's not on it, and it's just him and Jeff Schroeder and Tommy Lee, of all people, in the studio. But, like, I really love that record. But anyway, the point that I want to get at here, while I'm talking about the Pumpkins and William Patrick Corgan, is that just last week, he put out Cotillions. And I go through phases with the Pumpkins. Sometimes I listen to them just nonstop and it's all I'm listening to, and sometimes I'm not really listening to them that much at all. And the past couple months, like the past 6 months at least, I'd say, I'm in a phase of not really listening to them that much. And so when he announced Cotillions, I was like, yeah, because I had read about it and I knew like how it was written, how it was recorded, and it's a double album and all this stuff. And I was like, it'll be interesting. I'll listen to it eventually. I heard like maybe 30-second snippet of one of the songs, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like Billy Corgan. Like, obviously I'm going to listen to it, whatever. And then the day it came out, I was sitting at my desk. I didn't know what I wanted to listen to. I was like, oh yeah, that new Billy Corgan record came out. Let me just throw that on Spotify. This is my favorite thing that he has done since One. I'm going to be very bold and just say that. I just love this. Like, as soon as I heard this album, especially with the second track, the first track, I was like, oh, cool, okay, I'm getting the flavor for the album. The second track, and then the fourth and fifth tracks, I was like, this is the best songwriting from him I've heard in so long. It is the least self-conscious record I've heard from him in so long. And it really, really reminds me of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness era, the quieter songs that were very often B-sides. So like Rotten Apples, Blank, Jupiter's Lament, and then obviously 33 was on the record, but like that kind of like country and Americana and folk influenced acoustic songwriting really takes me back to that. And it just hit all the nostalgia buttons that I get with the Pumpkins. One of the reasons I love them so much, but also it's just really freaking good as an album. Like, I sent it to friends of mine and family members. Like, I sent it to my brother and I sent it to my dad and like other people who are not big Pumpkins fans, but that I share music with. And they really liked it, like outside of caring about the Pumpkins. It's just such a good record. It's my new favorite record of 2019. And so for that reason, I really wanted to throw the Pumpkins on this list. So that was number 5. Number 4 of my top favorite albums of the last decade, Sky Ferreira, Nighttime, My Time. As I said before, I really love pop albums and like really great pop albums. And it's so melodic. You want to dance. You want to sing along. The songs are so strong, but also it has this kind of like gritty intensity to it that it can't be faked. And I can't tell you how many hundreds of times I've listened to this record, and I mean hundreds. Like, I have a computer that I had when this record first came out that broke. But at one point, the play count for this record was around 70 or 80. It's about the same on my new computer. Plus, you have all the number of times I've listened to it on the car, on the Sonos. Like, I really have listened to this record like hundreds of times. I bought copies of this record for friends of mine because I thought they had to hear it. Heavy Metal Heart is absolutely one of my top 10 songs of the last decade. Nobody Asked Me If I'm Okay is so good. You're Not the One is so good. It's just such a strong album. I can't say enough good things about it. So now we are in my top 3. Number 3 is an artist more than it is a specific, I gotta bend over and get this, album, MIA. I freaking love MIA. This is my favorite MIA record of the past decade. It's called Kala, and I didn't even get the name of the album right. Like, I am delirious right now from recording these videos because we've been going for like 4 hours. Oh my god! Matangi is the name of this record. And this, like, the track list of this is just like a greatest hits. Only One You, Warriors, Come Walk With Me, Attention, Exodus, Bad Girls, Double Bubble Trouble, Yala, Bring the Noise. Like, this album is so good. I think, honestly, that, I know this is heresy and blasphemy or whatever you want to call it, but I think Bad Girls is a better song than Paper Planes. I think it's MIA's best song. It's on this record. That alone is worth the price of admission. This, as you can see, the CD is, like, beat to shit. Like, I've listened to this so many times in the car, especially, just like over and over and over again for weeks in a row. I also really love Maya, which a lot of people didn't really like when it came out, but this is like radical, insane, like noise pop. Like there's a song on here where the beat is made by a drill. There's another song on here where the beat is made by clinking glass bottles. Like this is just a crazy record, and I really, really love it. And then we have her most recent record, which is called AIM, and again, like there's so many great tracks on here. Borders, Go Off, Freedom. There's a song with Zayn on it. Oh, that's Freedom. And then Fly Pirate is such a great song. Swords is a really awesome song. I mean, I love MIA's sound, that it is so unique and it is so distinct, and she combines like punk and pop and hip hop and all these different sounds into this like pure rebel music. There's so much of a defiant attitude about it. Like the attitude of it almost reminds me of like Clash or like Public Enemy or something like that. And I can't say enough good things about MIA. I just love those records. Top 3, baby. What do we have? Oh, that was top 3. Now we're in the top 2. We're almost done. Ash. You know that Ash is one of my favorite bands because I talk about it again and again and again. And Ash, like the Pumpkins, I was like, did they release a lot this decade? Oh, wait, they did the A to Z series. That was 26 songs plus like 16 B-sides. Then the Little Infinity EP. And then these 2 records. Yeah, so Ash has released a ton of music. Plus Tim Wheeler put out a solo album, which I meant to bring in with me and I forgot I have on CD, which is a really, really good record. But here we have Kablamo. Let's Ride is on here. That's one of my favorite Ash songs. I mean, the track listing here is so good. Cocoon, Let's Ride, Machinery, Free, Go Fight, Win, Moondust, Evil Knievel, Hedonism, Dispatch, Shutdown, For Eternity, Bring Back to Summer. Like, this is like a greatest hits album, and it's like an album that most people don't even know exists or like haven't even listened to. It's called Kablamo. It's Ash, and this was on Infectious Records, so it was like they were... Oh, no, this is Ear Music. This is the one that was on Infectious Records. Ear Music, I think, is the company that published the record, but Atomic Heart Records is Ash's own label, so they put this out on their own. And this is just like, I just love this album. I love this band. I love their sound. I love the fact that they can change their sound up and still be themselves, which I think is a really strong quality of band. And then we have Islands, which is... I should say that the A to Z series is absolutely incredible, and I love it. And it has been released on vinyl. There's a 3 LP clear vinyl variant that is out that you should go and buy for me because I can't afford it for myself because it's like $50 or $60. But it's out there. Google it. Send it to us. You'd be greatly appreciated. So this is like the metallic cover. It is signed by all 3 members of the band. Silver variant of Islands, which is their most recent album. And this album just has really strong songwriting, and if you were to listen to this as a big Ash fan, you might think that's not like the Ash sound that I'm accustomed to, but well, the first time I heard this, I was like, I don't really know what to make of this record, but the more I listen to it, the more I love it. There's some... Silver Suit is a freaking great song. Incoming Waves is a really, really great song. Is It True? It's a Trap. I mean, there's so many great tracks on here. Buzzkill is one of my favorite Ash songs in years. Confessions in the Pool. Annabelle. My wife heard Annabelle, and like my wife is like not like a huge Ash fan, but it's one of those bands where like she doesn't mind when I listen to them. Like she's not gonna ask me to turn it off, but like she's not really into them. But she heard Annabelle, and she's like, "This is really good. Who is this?" And I was like, "This is Ash." And she's like, "Wait, really?" And I played her this record, and she really liked the whole album. And it reminded her a little bit of Weezer. Interestingly enough. So guess what? We are at my number 1 favorite album of the past decade, 2012 to 20. What am I saying? 2012. 2010 to the end of 2019, and here's the thing that's crazy about it. It's not 1 record, it's like 5 records, and it's 2 different bands, because we have a tie at number 1, and the tie is between the collected releases of Laura Jane Grace, of Against Me, who is one of my favorite artists of all time, and Deftones, another one of my favorite bands of all time. Deftones put out Diamond Eyes, Koi no Yokon, and Gore in this decade. Gore is not an album that I love that much, so let's take that off the list. Koi no Yokon is my favorite Deftones album, and I've been a fan of the Deftones since 1996. I was through Adrenaline, like Around the Fur, White Pony, that whole era in the band's history. Koi no Yokon to me is the realization of everything they have been doing since Around the Fur. It is heavy, it is atmospheric, it is melodic, it is aggressive. The songwriting is phenomenally strong. It is absolutely one of my most listened to and favorite albums of the decade. And then Diamond Eyes is the album that really brought them back. And it's just like a really strong, punchy, aggressive, catchy album. Rocket Skates is one of my favorite Deftones songs. That's on there. There's so many standout tracks on there. The Deftones have been incredible this decade. They've been completely resurgent. They've created like beers. They created their own festival, Dia de los Deftones. They're currently in this studio recording another album. I saw them twice this decade. They were phenomenal both times. I can't say enough good things about them. And that brings me to Laura Jane Grace and Against Me. So, White Crosses, the Russian Spies EP. What is the other song on there? Occult Enemies. Yeah, I'll get into that in a minute. And then we have Transgender Dysphoria Blues, which is right here. We have Shapeshift with Me, and then we have Laura Jane Grace and the Devouring Mothers, which came out just last year. Collectively, some of the best music I've heard in the last decade, and Against Me is one of my all-time favorite bands, top 5, no question about it. This decade has just been phenomenal for Against Me. I think I've seen them like 4 times this decade. The Russian Spies single has a song on it, like I said, Occult Enemies, that is just freaking incredible. And like the fact that like in a period of turmoil in the band, they can crank out like one of the best songs that they had done at that point in like maybe 4 or 5 years. It's just such a strong testament to how phenomenal Laura Jane Grace is as a songwriter. This is a pink variant of this record that was released to raise money for breast cancer research, as you can see here. So, and Transgender Dysphoria Blues, I think, is like an album where I think a lot of people who are casual fans of Against Me or only like certain aspects of the band wrote them off when they did New Wave and then White Crosses, and they went through a couple drummers, and they were like a brief dormant period, and then this record came out and just kicked all those people in the teeth and was like, screw you, you're wrong, we still kick ass, we're back, we have a new drummer, we have a new bass player, we're better than ever. It's a really great record. I'm going to go ahead and say that, a controversial statement, I like Shapeshift with Me even more. I think Transgender Dysphoria Blues is more consistent as a record, but the best songs on this record, which I would categorize as 333, Boyfriend, All of This and More, what else is on here? Dead Rats, Rebecca. This is so good. These are like some of my favorite Against Me songs ever. Some of the best stuff I think Laura Jane Grace has ever written. And there are co-writers on this album too, actually. So, co-written by. And this is a clear variant. Something that's weird about this album to me is that this album is like 30 minutes long, and this is a double album. And I have no freaking idea why. Like maybe they just wanted to get like the highest fidelity possible, so they put the least amount of music on each side. But I really don't know why. If you know the reason for that, let me know. And then finally, Laura Jane Grace and the Devouring Mothers. This album is called Bought to Rot, and this is a special variant too. I love this damn record. I didn't know what to expect from this album. Like, I really didn't. And the first single that was released is like an acoustic, kind of like folk punk, country punk kind of thing. And I wasn't really sure like what the record would sound like. And like, it's kind of like alternative rock, indie punk. And the lyrics, again, like one of the things I love the most about Laura Jane Grace is the lyrics that she writes. They are so freaking incredible. But this record is just like 5 out of 5 for me, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to say. Just an incredible album. I can't recommend it highly enough. That, along with Deftones, are my favorite music of this past decade. This has been an exhaustive video. I really apologize. I thank you so much for having watched the whole thing. If you are still here with us, if you could subscribe, that would be hugely appreciated. Let us know in the comments what your favorite albums of the last decade are, starting in 2010. Ending at the end of 2019. My name is Will. You are watching Vinyl Appreciation Society, and we will see you next time.